Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is Charan. In this video tutorial, I will explain how to create a CRUD operation, create, read, update and delete functionality in Django REST framework with class-based views. And here we got the final output of our web application REST API class-based view application. And notice here the get method displays all the records, and below we got the post functionality. Right now in our table we have three records. Let's insert the new record, copy this one because it's a JSON type. The employee ID is 5, the Charan, I'm adding the Charan is Peter. The email also I'm changing pet@gmail.com, and salary is 4,200. Let's insert. We don't require comma here. Click post. See here where I accept, the employee ID 5 is successfully inserted. Let's browse this table. See here we got the Peter record. Now we'll update the Peter record. To update the record, the Peter ID is 5, so the path has set emp5. So here we got the Peter record. Let's change the other one. We'll take the Ben. The 4 is Ben. So here the employee ID for Ben got. And if you notice here, we got the put method, put function. So copy this one. Let's update the Ben details. The salary only I'm changing. Instead of 4,800, I'm adding 5,500. So click put. So salary has been updated successfully. Let's check in our database. So right now the Ben salary was 4,800. And I click browse. See here the 5,500. Now let's delete this Ben details. Notice here we got the delete functionality here. Delete button. Click delete. Are you sure you want to delete this employee update del? Click delete. Now we check the table. When I reload this browser, see here the Ben employee name has been deleted successfully from this table. That's it. If you are a first time visitor to my channel, please subscribe to get the latest updates. Before creating a new Django REST web application, first we'll check the table in database, which is PHP MyAdmin database. The table name is the employee table, which contains right now four rows: employee ID, EMP name, email and salary. The EMP ID column, the employee ID column is a auto-generated column. Now my aim is I want to apply the CRUD functionality to create a record, update the record, delete the record and display the records using Django REST framework with class-based views functionality. So first we'll create a new Django web REST framework application. So first we'll create a new Django REST framework web application. In order to create a new Django REST framework web application in Django, first we require a new folder. So I'm creating a new folder in this E drive, local drive. I click the mouse, click new and select folder. And the folder name is the REST-CRUD class-based views. Class-based views. Enter. Let's browse this folder. Right now this folder contains empty. Now we'll create a new Django REST web application in this folder. I'm using Visual Studio Code to create a new Django REST framework application. But before that, we need to add the folder which we have created in the E drive. Go to File and select Open Folder. And from this folder, in this let's switch over to E drive. This is the folder name. I have selected our folder. Select folder. And here our folder is successfully added to our Visual Studio Explorer panel. At the right side we got the welcome page. Let's close this welcome page. Now we'll create a new Django REST framework application in this folder. For that, go to view and select terminal. And here we got our terminal, which is nothing but a PowerShell or command prompt. And also if you notice, the path is, this is our folder name, and this folder we have created in the E drive. So now we'll create a REST application in this folder. For that, Django-admin start project and CRUD class basic view, CLL view, class view. The CRUD class view is my application, and here the application is created successfully in this folder. Let me expand this application. If you notice, in this application there is one subfolder called the same folder name, the application name, n1manage.py. Let me expand this subfolder also, and in this subfolder contains some default Python files, settings.py, urls.py. All these files and folders has been created automatically when I create this project CRUD class view. So after creating the application, now the next step will create the models page to this project. So I'm creating a models page in the subfolder of our application. So select the subfolder, right click the mouse, click new file, and the file name will be the models.py, which is a Python file. Click enter. Now in this models page contains a properties and our table name. So before that, let's import the models class from django.db import models. After that, let's define a class called, our table name is, if you check, this employee table contains 4 columns, so the emp id column is auto generate column. I don't require any id, so I'm adding emp name, email and salary. And the class name is employee model, class models dot model, and this model contains a properties. So if you check in our table, this employee table contains 4 columns, emp id, emp name, email and salary. Let's add the properties. Emp id is equals to models dot integer field, and this field is a primary key. Make this as a true. It's a primary key column. Next one is a emp name is equals to models dot char field, max length is equals to 100. After that, we require the email also, email and salary. So email is equals to models dot char field, the data type is a max length is equals to 100, and the last one is a salary. The property name is models dot, and the salary data type is the integer field. So here I'm adding the integer type. After that, I'm defining another class called meta class, and this meta class contains our table name. So db underscore table, it's underscore db underscore table is equals to, between double quotes, let's add our the table name, which is the employee table. Copy that one and paste here. That's it. Let's save this file. So after creating the models page, now we require the serializer object. So again, right click the subfolder of our application, click new file, and the file name will be the serialize.py, enter. Now in this serialize.py, the Python page contains the model name and the fields. So before that, we need to import the necessary classes. So from Django, from REST framework, import serializers. Then I'm adding the models class from our models page is inside this our application name. So let's add our application name dot models import employee model. This class name I'm adding here. So after that, let's define a class with employee serialize. The class name is serializers dot model serializer colon class, meta class I'm adding, and this meta class contains the model is equals to the model name is a employee model, the class name of the model. Then we'll get the fields also from this class within double quotes underscore underscore all. I want to get all the fields from this class in this serializer. That's it. Let's save this file, save all. Now the third step is, again right click the subfolder. Now this time we'll add the views.py. So click new file, views.py, enter, and here we got our views.py page. Now in this views page contains all the logic to create the object, delete the object, update the object, and get the object. So all the CRUD functionality will adding in this page. So before that, let's import the necessary classes. First we'll add the models class from our table name is CRUD class view dot models, import employee model. From next I'm importing the serialize class also. Again our application name dot serialize. In this serialize class contains the employee serialize. After that, now here I want to define the class based views. I want to create the APIs using class based views. So let's define a class called CRUD. Let's give some proper name is employee table. Now in this employee table contains, if you want to make this class to API, so we need to add the import from REST underscore framework dot views import API view. This class name is very important. So this API view, to convert this class into API view column. Now here the steps. First one, def. Let's define the function we need to add to get all the employee records. To get all these employee records, we need to use the get function. Make sure you give the get function there, self, and this get function takes two parameters, self and the second parameter is a request. After adding self and request in the get method, next define the emp object is equals to emp model. Let's call the objects. I'm getting all the objects in this employee model, so to display all the records. Then we require the emp serialize object also. Emp serialize object is equals to employee serializer. Employee serialize, this class name I'm adding here, the serialize class, emp object comma many is equals to true. After that, this function return response. So this API response, we need to import REST framework dot response, import response class, all is capital here. So let's add the response class here. Response method takes emp serialize object dot data. That's it. It's a very simple step to display all the records from the employee table. Let's save this file. Now open urls.py. Let's configure the path also. From dot import, importing the views, and on the URL patterns path the sync codes. Now this path is the default home page of our web applications. So views dot, let's add the employee table dot as underscore view method, comma. That's it. Let's save this file also. Save all. Now we require the settings. Open settings.py. In the install underscore applications apps, the settings.py, first we need to import rest underscore framework, comma, and we require our application name. Our application name is CRUD class view. Copy that one and paste here, and come to the bottom. If you check in the databases, the default database is SQLite 3, but here we are using MySQL database. So let's add, so delete this one, SQLite 3, add MySQL, and the name is, let's delete this default database name and add our database. And notice our database is line. I have created this employee table in this database. So let's add the line database. After that we require the credentials. User is root and the password is equals to, here the password I'm leaving blank because I don't have any password to log into my PHP my admin database. If you have any password, please enter between these single quotes in the password section. And the next we require the host also. The host is localhost, and we require the port number of our database. Let's check our database port number, MySQL 3308. So let's add that one, 3308. And the last one we require the options between single quotes, options, colon, between curly brackets. I'm adding the initial command, colon, I'm setting the SQL underscore mode. I'm setting the SQL mode between single quotes, strict underscore trans underscore tables. That's it. We have configured the database also in this settings.py. Make sure in the install underscore apps add these two applications, rest underscore framework and CRUD class view. This is my application name. Save this file, save all. Now before adding the post, put and delete functionality in this views page, first we'll check this get API functionality is working or not. So switch to the terminal, cd. To run this application we need to add first our project name to this path, then python manage.py run server, enter. See, after I run the server we don't have any issues, and below is our web server link. Let's browse this link, Control plus mouse click. See, here we got the API. Right now in our table we have 4 records. These are the records which is a get method. Now let's implement the post method to insert the records into this table. So again switch back to the coding part. The same views py, inside this class employee table, let's define another function called post method. Make sure give post self comma request colon. Now to post the data using employee serializer class, so let's define serialize object is equals to employee serialize. Here I'm adding data is equals to request request.data. Then before insert this record we need to check the data is valid or not. So I'm using if condition, if serialize object dot is valid method. If the record is valid, here we need to add colon. If the records what we are entering is valid, the data types and everything is valid, then only I want to save those records in the table. So here serialize object dot save method. That's it. Let's add the return, this function return response. Return spelling is wrong here. Return response. I'm responding serialize object dot data comma. Here I'm adding status. If the record is inserted successfully, I want to display the status from REST framework import status class. Then status is equals to status status dot, see here, http 201 created. If the record is not valid, then I want to display the status error response serialize object dot errors comma status dot http 40 bad request. That's it. It's a very simple step to define. That's it. It's a very simple step to insert the new records in the table using class-based API view. That's it. We have written. That's it. We have written the code. That's it. We have created the API to insert records into the table. Now let's save this file. Save all. We'll check the output. We have already opened here the API. If you notice here, we don't have any the element to enter the values. So notice once I reload the browser, so here we got the post method. We are posting the data, post method. So let's insert the new value. Let's copy this one because it's a JSON type. Copy this one and paste here. The employee ID, we already have 4 records. So let's insert the 5th record. Kumar K at yahoo.com is the email IDs, and the salary is around 3,800. Let's post. See here where we accept here the record employee ID 5th Kumar is inserted successfully. Let's check in our database table. Click browse. See here we got employee ID 5 Kumar is successfully added to our employee table using this REST framework in Django web API. Now we require the get, put and delete functionality. Now up to now in this class we have defined to get all the records, and we are inserting a new record using this class employee table. But to update or delete the records of a particular employee, we require another class, and just like the class we have, I'm creating another class employee update, and del is the class name API view column. Now here I'm defining the def. To update a particular employee record, we require the particular employee details. So here I'm defining get underscore object. This get underscore object, I'm adding self and pk, 2 parameters. Here we have request, but here I'm not requesting. Here I'm adding self comma pk, 2 parameters, colon try block. This try block, this return, I'm selecting the particular employee, employee model dot objects dot get method, get pk is equals to pk. I'm getting the particular employee call. Then that's a catch exception, except employee model dot, if the record is not exists, does not exist colon. I want to display the bad request, so I'm just copying this part and paste here, colon here. Make sure the indents. Now after that, I'm defining a function called get, and this function get, if you notice above also we got the get function method which contains 2 parameters, but this function contains 3 parameters: self, request and pk colon. Here now in this function I'm getting the employee records before update with the help of this get object, the particular employee record. So first let's define emp object is equals to self dot this function name. I'm adding get object, get underscore object, then serialize. Let's add the serialize object is equals to employee serialize emp object. After that, this function return response serialize object dot data. This object I'm adding here data. So once we get the particular employee records, I want to update. So again def. Now to update the employer details, particular details, we need put method. Make sure give the method names are the same: get, put. To insert the records we need to add post. And this function also returns self request 3 parameters colon. So first let's grab this part, the pk part. After that we require the serialize object also. Emp serialize is equals to employee serialize, the class name emp object comma data is equals to request dot data. Then as usual we need to serialize object emp serialize dot is valid. If the record is valid, then only I want to save. It's a if condition. If the record is valid, emp serialize dot save method, then return response emp serialize dot data. And let's add the status also. Status is equals to status dot http 200 okay. Then if the record is failed to insert, so let's copy this one, the bad request, copy this one and paste here. That's it. Let's save this file. After we save the file, we don't have any issues in this class. Oh, here we got the error here. It's here we don't require here this error. Just display the status, and this one is emp serialize object. That's it. Let's save this file. Save all. So now we don't have any errors in this class. Now we require the path also, path within single quotes emp integer type pk. In this tag we will define the employee id comma views dot. Let's add this class name and dot as underscore view method, because we have using the class based views. to create the API. So we need to mention as underscore view. Otherwise, if you don't mention, you'll get an error. So make sure add this function, add as underscore view. Let's save all. Now let's check the output to update a particular employee record. I'm reloading the browser. Here with the path is the emp. The path name is emp / let's enter in our database. We have 5 records. Let's add the employee record 5 emp IDs. 5 is command. See here we got the command records. Now if you notice here we got the put method. Before we got post, now here we got the put method. So to update the record, let's copy this one and paste here. I want to change the employee name Kumar to Vijay Kumar, and his salary is 4,200. And then let's update put. See here, where I accept, the record is updated successfully. The employee name is Vijay Kumar, his salary is 4,200. Now let's check in the database table. If you check, the employee name is Kumar. Right now the salary is 3,800. Let's refresh this table or browse this table again. See here, the employee name is Vijay Kumar and his salary is 4,200. Now the last step, the delete functionality. To delete the functionality, in the same class, we'll define another function called def delete. So again, self request and pk. Again, we'll copy this one instead of writing the same thing. Here, simply emp object dot delete method. It deletes the record. Return response status is equals to status dot. To delete the status, no content. So we are deleting the content. So let's add the status code is 204. Let's save this file, save all. That's it. Let's check the final output. Now if you check here, we don't have any delete option in this page. Now when I reload this browser, see here we got the delete. If you want to delete this Vijay Kumar record from this table, let's delete this one. Delete. See, are you sure you want to delete? Click delete. So it's deleted successfully. Let's refresh the table browse. See here, the table, from the table Vijay Kumar has been deleted successfully. And let's delete the employee name 3. Enter. The employee name 3 is Peter. Delete. Are you sure you want to delete? Delete. Let's delete the employee records. Click browse. See here, the employee ID 3 has been deleted successfully.